So, hello and welcome to React and React Native Siblings, Not Twins. I'm Paris Athena. So I'm creator of Black Tech Twitter, which is a hashtag and movement bringing awareness, exposure, and opportunity to Black technologists in the tech industry. I'm founder of Black Tech Pipeline, which is a platform for Black Tech Twitter. We have a Discord and Slack community and a newsletter. And I'm also on the hiring and platform team for a really cool company called G2I. Again, this is my first talk, and I'm extremely nervous, so I'm going to be like, thanks. I'm going to be doing like things with my hands, like it just makes me feel comfortable, so. Cool. So I wanted to address the whole siblings, not twins thing because a lot of people don't understand it. Before I became a developer, I was a wax specialist, so like literally waxing body hair off of people full time. And so something I would commonly say is that eyebrows are sisters, not twins. And I said that because while our eyebrows look extremely similar, they actually have a lot of differences, and I kind of apply that same logic to React and React Native. Okay, so before we get into the differences, we should think about what we love about React. So we love our reusable components, the ability to pass props between components. We love writing JSX, managing state with our favorite state management libraries, and the ecosystem of helpful libraries. So we can take we can take everything that we love about React and apply that to React Native. So now we can get into the differences. So just remember that when you're developing in React Native, you're also developing for iOS and Android. It would help you to get familiar with Xcode and Android Studio, especially when it comes to troubleshooting. However, you can use this amazing tool called Expo. It's a tool chain that allows you to build apps without setting up either of those environments. So with React, you'd spin up a React server and then test your changes in a browser. In React Native, you spin up a server and test your changes in a virtual device. So you'd run React Native, run iOS command, which will run an Xcode command that provides you with an iOS simulator. And you can also use a developer menu, which allows you to debug JavaScript remotely. And it opens up a Chrome tab and allows you to log specific errors or things to the console. And you can also do other things from this menu, like inspect elements, turn on the hot module reloading, and you can specify which iPhones you want to run on your app from the run iOS command. And then you can also like plug your phone into your laptop, and Xcode will open up your app on your mobile device. With Android, it's similar, but you'd run React Native, run Android instead. And as far as the virtual devices go, because Androids come in many different shapes, sizes, and flavors, you'd have to create the device yourself using Android Virtual Device Manager. And one of these devices need to be running when you run the run Android command. All right, so after you set up your environment, one of the first things you're going to notice is nomenclature. Names for elements you'd use in React are different in React Native. So where you'd use elements like div, section, main, or header in React, you'd use a view in React Native. Where you'd use paragraph, a span, h1 in React, you'd simply use the text element in React Native. A button is still a button, but you'd have the options of using touchable opacity or touchable highlight, which are views that behave like buttons. And I want to apologize for the inconsistency of these box sizes, but we're not a design conference, so I don't expect to be judged. Also notice that our elements in React are lowercase, but in React Native they're uppercase, and that's because our elements in React Native are technically components. All right, so with React, we style our components with CSS, and in React Native, we use something called style sheet. So a style sheet, we create a style object, which allows us to apply those styles to our components. And also keep in mind that you have to use Flexbox with React Native. And since we're already doing styling with JavaScript, you can use CSS in JS libraries. And the benefit of this is that if you're already styling using CSS in JS libraries for web, you don't have to change the way you're doing it in React Native. And also, in some ways, styling mobile is easier because you're only worrying about smaller screen sizes. One of the bigger differences are the unique components that come with React Native that aren't available in React. So let's take a look at some of the ones you'd probably use the most. So first, we're going to have the activity indicator, which is pretty much a loading indicator. And it comes in handy when you need to manage loading states for data fetching or expensive processes. Then we have SCROLLVIEW, which gives you a view that allows you to scroll vertically or horizontally. And it comes with tons of properties that allow you to do some cool things, like having the scroll view bounce when it reaches the bottom of that screen, or the sticky header indices, which makes a child element sticky while scrolling. I like to think of FLATLIST as a for loop in component form. So at minimal usage, you have to pass an array of objects to a data property and a function to the render item property, which returns the data and elements you wrap it in. And a FLATLIST uses SCROLLVIEW under the hood. Platform is an object that gives you information on platform-specific details. It allows you to make platform-specific configurations as well. So for example, if you wanted to make your header in iOS black and blue in Android, then you could use the platform object to help you accomplish this. This isn't necessarily a unique component, but the aspect of saving things temporarily in web is important and can be useful for mobile too. So for this, we'd use async storage, which behaves similarly to local storage on web. So this component has been deprecated from core and moved to the React Native community repo, but I'm going to get into that a little later. There is a cool library called Redux Persist, which allows you to persist data through async storage based off your Redux stores. And by the way, you can use Redux Persist in web, which is a testament for how similar it is writing for web and mobile. Navigation. So when we jump between pages in web, we're going to use URLs, but with React Native, we don't have that option. So there are a few libraries out there to help you with this, but a very popular one is React Navigation. So with React Navigation, you'd set up transitioning between your components with the stack data structure. Upgrading with React Native, it can sometimes be a little difficult. React Native does have to be in sync with what's going on with React, iOS, Android all at once. It's been a pain point, but the Facebook team is doing everything they can to make this process a whole lot smoother. However, there are tools available to help us upgrade React Native applications. So there's the React Native upgrade command, and the React Native Upgrade Helper, which is a web tool that provides you with the full set of changes between any two versions. It also shows comments on specific files, letting you know why those changes were necessary, which I find super helpful. So when using any new technology, you want to refer to that technology's documentation on how to use it. This is especially true with React Native. So mobile devices are sophisticated, and with React Native, you can access parts of a device that you wouldn't be able to with web. I think it's important to thoroughly look through the docs for each component you're using, because you never know what props exist that may improve the experience or solve a particular problem you're having. And so this is a screenshot of the properties for FLATLIST, and I couldn't even fit them all in one screenshot, and there's so many components with a big list of props like this. A cool and unique thing about React Native is how involved the community is. So Facebook's been making efforts towards making React more lean. So one aspect of making it more lean is removing components that were part of the React Native core and letting them get managed by the community. Some of the components you'd find under the React Native repo are WebView, NetInfo geolocation, and async storage. So instead of these components coming out of the box with React Native, you'd now have to install them if you wanted to use them as a dependency. And I'm pretty sure some of the maintainers of these components are at this conference, so shout out to them. So deploying your React projects on web can easily be done using different hosting services like Heroku, Netlify, Firebase, but the process on mobile is much more involved. So when you're deploying on mobile, you have to go through Apple and Google. These are the only ways that your apps would be considered official. So before releasing into production, it's a good idea. I'm not going to read from this slide. I'm just going to kind of go off on my own. So you would deploy using TestFlight for iOS. So this is managed by Apple. It's the official solution to beta testing Apple platform applications. And just a side note that if you do want external testers for your beta app, you would have to submit to Apple's review process. And for Android, you deploy to Google Play Console, which is obviously managed by Google. It's Android's official launching platform. Google Play Console has 3 types of tests, which are internal, open, and closed. And just know that open testing allows all users to test your application. So how would we even go about that? So with iOS, you'd upload your IPA file to the App Store, where your app gets judged by the Apple gods for 3 days before eventually getting rejected. And then for Android, you can upload your APK file to the Play Store, where it'll be live in 10 minutes no matter what's on that APK file. Google might realize that releasing your app was a total mistake, and they may pull it off the App Store a day or 2 later. So that's it for my talk. Again, I'm Paris Athena. You can follow me on Twitter at Paris Athena. You can follow Black Tech Pipeline at BT Pipeline. And I must shout out G2I because they're the ones who got me here. So please check us out at G2I_CO. And please come find me if you have any questions, want to talk about G2I, any more differences in any aesthetics. I'll be here. Thank you.